questions? You really do have questions for which I really do not have answers sometimes.
The political mission was going on.
Sorry. So politically I'm a little bit unaware, so these are tough to answer sometimes. I think we start from here and then move on.
Is it possible to tell us a little bit about Geshe Langri Tangpa, the author?
Geshe Langri Tangpa korangi lochudo tortudo chi sontugiru es korang korda. Konso chogi nima chik songoda.
Didira. Hilangam lojin dindo.
So I cannot really go on to give you like a biography of Langri Tangpa, but then from what survives of his teachings, a little bit here, better? Okay. So from what survives of his teachings in the form of literature, then we can gauge that Geshe Langri Tangpa is a very deeply realized contemplative master, because his texts are really short and they really hit the nail on the way that we need to cultivate our practices. And generally, when we talk about Geshe Langri Tangpa, he's said to have come from the Kadamba tradition of practitioners who were really strict practitioners, took to the caves, and then the so the biographies, in some biographies, they also talk about how Geshe Langri Tangpa taught a colony of lepers these teachings, and there were like immediate effects on those people who are suffering from that disease. And Kosocho Ichiksunguda, Langri Tangpa ni Mushuro Mudiri Sunguda. And when His Holiness the Dalai Lama gave the teaching last year on the 8 verses of training the mind, then he kind of shared this anecdote about Langri Tangpa as a person, that he was a very deeply contemplative person and really always used to think about bodhicitta all the time, that his contemporaries used to call him gloomy face Langri Tangpa, because when he starts to think about other people's suffering and other sentient beings suffering, he naturally starts to like shed tears.
거기 주제들 따온들아 지난 저기 칼로 근데 그때는 숨다 지금 가다 보니까 거다 거래라 내가 가로 있는 코라이게 숨셔지들로 시부시 코라이로 주디에 네 테니까 내가 시작한 제가 따이미라 근데 이자 그도 싫어라는 거리네 코라이게 내 숨셔지들로 뭔데 타네기 냠네 이렇게 뭐 진지 인사를 섬주다 봐 아니 가요라요 먼저 무슨 놈은 이래 뒤 그거 숨쉬기다라는 다음에 오늘 내내 미하고 차이 가르다 내기 objective to
So then I cannot really give you like a biographical detail about Langri Tangpa, but then when we study the text that he has written and the instructions that he has left for us, then from this we can gather that this person is a deeply contemplative person. And not only that, that he is a genuine practitioner. And then if we are able to practice his instructions, then it is guaranteed that it will only have like positive effects on us. And it is guaranteed if we follow his instructions that we become at the least a good human being.
question is suitable for this moment, but I have a question that I keep having it all the time about karma. So, shall I ask it now or should I wait for a more suitable time? Like,
Go ahead.
okay.
가르치 신대에는 제시라 얘기를 이제부터 맞추는 게 되는데.
So please feel free to ask any questions that you have. Do not hesitate. If I can answer them, I'll answer them honestly. And if I can't answer them, then I cannot help.
Fair enough. In one of the talks, Keshama mentioned something that when we continue the part of the self, the pure consciousness that continue to the next life, kind of drawn or being attracted to a womb of our next mother. So being born the way I was born, to the parents I was born, is not a random thing.
It's not?
It's not a random thing. I mean, obviously it's something that was meant to be in my karma. Okay? So as there is a collective subconsciousness, is there something like collective karma that being born where I was born, in this country, for these parents to be Jewish, what does it mean? Because sometimes people say to me, why are you going to practice Buddhism? We have everything. Everything is in Judaism. Why are you going? But I didn't grow up in a religious family, and I have no intention to become religious in that sense. Okay? But is it true that because I was born in that, do I have to follow this as a karmic thing? The fact that I was born, is it a collective like what Lital said before, what happens now? I don't want to have any part of that. I don't have a part, but still I belong to that thing. And I want to know, what should I do about it? I mean, is there such thing that a collective karma that I should follow?
You should follow.
Yes?
Okay. Now, Kurangi theology, the legend they call you use the word pure consciousness. In Buddhism, maybe the technical term is subtle consciousness.
Yeah, I mean the same thing.
Kurangi namshi dabar wale sikpeshu dangada. Di mare na zui dawe di namshi chamore di kije shigira. Sheba chamo di juma jiwa chima la duire le bichi. Ani pama gi nye na ma gi nye de la ko shudu la chabo gi moji yido wa tonde. Di wa ni dagas logo du de chi ko chab yido wa tonje ji mari chadu ji mari shudu ji mari was. Di le da wa 주체 뭐지 좀네 아니 뒤라 고다다 차리고 왔어 디직체 다 디기 인도서 뭐 파마디다 그런 게 리타미들 지시기로 아니 딜라 쳔비 리슈야 되지로 제도로 미리 디드서 뭐다 만족이 남주 투문기 레라 이게 지시기로 디나신 투문지 셰바라는 지 요르베스 지워지기들 투문기 셰바 so now in Buddhism we wouldn't use the term collective karma, collective consciousness. We would say that there would be a collective karma, but not collective consciousness.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Collective consciousness comes from another way of looking.
투문기 셰발레 가서 시기요.
투문기 레기 때는 아주 참만데 자매랑 아주 참아야지 대시시리다. 내가 저기 막 제가 가면 투문기 레기 쌓아라. 이 투문기 가서 셰바치게는
So in Buddhism, we wouldn't use the word collective consciousness. We would say there would be a collective karma. For example, this gathering. Now, this is collective karma that the group of participants have the collective karma to receive this teaching from one particular teacher.
So all the people that were murdered in one day, did they share the karma?
Yes.
How can it be?
드문기 레여라. 미상마 기심이 니마직다 미망보 상마 시나스라 뒤문지 레러 왔다디 시고에 니 간데 인식을
때 또고야 이게 뭔가 저 집에 들리라 비참하지 제디갈데 디선다문에 레벨 좀더 시디갈 가서 남부도 다면 님도 시기도 때 그런서 이제 지나다 남쪽으로 시는 레시사요 아 근데 그 걔네 동들라 내 말은 나한테 제메르 지나 기타가 좀 남쪽으로 시는 되가라 라 제단 만다라 시다야 좀더 집어 뒤주지바 라 지나 가서 이디요 가서 레레레요 소소소 게소소소 레지다 심지지도 레레 제가 배나서 다나서 디 지기 나라서 통화배 레라와 칸중다 심다 참가서 심지지도 레레 잡라 다야 심지 통화 많이 배 레레 가려는 나서 추부바 가는 샤워이나 다 수수 레레나게 만다고 통화 배는 이 추부바 간다 얘기 추통한다 사이도 통한다 나 심바지기 차도 나도 통해요 되는 거는 알아서 그 배를 도 아주 처음으로 잘라주지 요거는 지기 배하고 통고 잘라지 배하고 배 수시다 정말 더더 야고들 지기는 미두들이라 그래서 근데 이거는 this 신제 소속이 레이 통하지도 그렇죠 수수를 좀
So yes, this is a liable doubt that can come when we're talking about collective karma and so forth. We used to debate about the same when we were like studying, and now whether you can come to accept that there is a thing called collective karma or not is something you need to establish through your own reasoning. But from the text and from the tradition itself, it is established in this way and it is explained in this way. That even though we are born in different circumstances, in different cultures, there are instances wherein, like in a plane crash, random people from random groups of like community, from random backgrounds, suffer the same fate. So this is the collective karma that random group of people had, even though they were born in like different circumstances, grew up in different circumstances. So two types of karma generally are explained. Personal karma and collective karma. And the way that we can understand collective karma is in the sense that the outer elements that we see, such as the trees, the mountains, the sky, and so on, we kind of enjoy or we kind of take part in that in similar manners, that these appear as so to us collectively, very similar manners. But then when we look at a cup of water, and then in the text it is explained that due to our personal karma, then the gods, when they look at a cup of water, then it appears like a nectar, and when they actually drink that cup of water, it has the effect of a nectar. Whereas someone born as a hungry ghost or in the hell realm, when they look at that, then the cup of water is no longer a cup of water. It appears to them as like blood and pus and so on. So this is the way that collective and personal karma functions. And yes,
그치 아니 진짜 진짜 배신 없는 데 송고 통고 통나마라 당하나 지금 시초도 가이라 있다는 거 자르지 있다는 거 총문도 하고도 띵문도 나라서 하고 리그가 좀 있다.
So then this is the way it is explained in the text, and now we can try to relate this to our personal experience. Let's take a small like daily activity that we do, and we go to a marketplace, and that the fact that random groups of people come to the marketplace is a collective karma. But then when you go to the marketplace, the same thing does not have the same appeal. Like one item in the marketplace does not have the same appeal for everyone. One thing that some person really likes does not have the same appeal to some other person. So this is the way in which like collective and personal karma functions.
배나는 저기 대지도 대지소하라 미망고요나 같이 뒤치지 배에 이제도 미래 편선래 사실 뒤샤네 하고 뒤에 빙가라도 이제도 샤네 야라도 삼도 담을래가 소소소게 나기 지요 소소소가 말하는 거 참마들가 내지기는 참마들가 그러 근데 시대가 세상에서 이제 소소소기야 레도
So then if we take the example of this book that is in front of us, then this blue cover that has been put on this cover, fact that we're able to view this book collectively is our collective karma. But then the kind of reaction we have towards the aesthetic appeal of this cover, the color, some of us we may enjoy, like we like it, but some of us say, this color is too dull, it's not good enough. So this is the personal karma at play. Other questions? Yes.
What is Tibetan Buddhism review about alcohol and drug addiction? Like someone in the family has it, and like after the children have it, or
Kurangi la na tanda manzu nangde pyoge nangde nangla rasra. Pyoge nangche nangla ni manzu ki tama nidala soba, chara soba ni bet kumshi jar, kumshi nyamba jar yendri ras. Dila tazu kante ras. Pena pama ki ara shuchimbo ton, ni tama nidala soba shuchimbo ton na pugula yora shingiti. Dile chaya ki ninga yungadas. Dila tazu kante ras.
이 가서 별별 시설하면 따라리 배에 가서 잘하는 일 두자츠라. 시설 나로라 두자츠를 그러니까 대상은 체리도 또 주내래 되기도 아니 수준 누에 비주 그렇다. 다섯 배 받는 거지 제도. 아니 수준 남이야 카톡도 이제 차라도 알지는 다 고쪽 과장 담을 시디가를 보면 들리지는 직접 붙여고 나서 카레도 해도 들는데 이게 사실은 믿으더라. 다이네 지기 파리도 또 테스트지고 통하게 하면 다이는 나중 또 시와 있는데 차라도 가고 집 저한테 이미 위제 있는데 마동도 뭐라 아니 먼저 지주가 먼저 지주가 나야 파마도 캐는다 마동이 매는다 이게 뭔가 지주가 돼 파마도 테스트 통도더라 근데 처음에 근데别的 가서 뭔가 남아져 대 위만 참 보다 보면 참 쓰가게 비슷한 조금 단단히 나가는 게 되는데 요즘도 지나요.
So then generally in Tibetan society, then if there are alcoholics, which is the more dominant or prevalent, then alcoholics and the consumption of alcohol without limit is really looked down on. If someone suffers like alcoholism, then it is really looked down on. And from the perspective of the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, then we say that the consumption of such alcohol and drugs has no virtue at all in it. And so yes, from Tibetan society and from the Tibetan Buddhist culture, abstinence from the consumption of alcohol or drugs is highly stressed. And for example, when we were young in Tibet, I guess my parents used to drink alcohol, but then there was a lama in our village who completely kind of encouraged everyone not to consume alcohol at all. And then when we grew up, then I realized that my parents have stopped drinking. So yeah, this is the view from the culture and from the Buddhist tradition.
I was wondering about how to kind of think about karma in terms of like emptiness and like to what degree is karma. Yeah, it's easy to talk about it as if it's this like sort of quite concrete law of things. But is there perhaps a way? Is it on another level understood, particularly sort of after your death? Is that something which we can think of as kind of like a skillful fabrication, like a kind of sort of generating this belief and therefore this perception of the world and way of thinking about the world to help live a more compassionate life? Can we see it as like a skillful concoction fabrication?
거의 제가 똥반이라 제가 되네 만족이 똥반이기 고아로 지내라 레전드를 그래서 못 당을 했어. 아니 딱 주제 마무리를 때네 야두요를 라면을 두고요 말에는 똥반이들 삼 당나서 이 레라에 대해서라. 나 주마 아주 투문지레이나 제르게레이나 양스라. 아니 굴롱 삼보지케 자민인지로 지케 Today, Janjang Sama Tang de Nasra, any Jumagi Leju Jimbi and Jura, Nami Jibuti answer, and Chamdani Jim Besajal Chia. That's what the day you see what it is.
그래. 근데 친구들 나도 단단한 지기 마다파 지 가시 사실 고속도 근데 미제 되죠. 저거 거라니 내 님바도 근데 지 나 특히 뭐지 되게 뭐지 엄마는 저를 미치려 스스로 단단 지 가시 사실 좀보다 다르도 자르도 지 자승 부지를 제대로 서로 고속도로 차선이 스스로 한번 되는 가시베 미상 축도 이야기 아니 지 거유나 야고 되게 제대로 살려면 상관도 될 때는 좀
So yes, this is one particular way through which we can try to look at the way that karma functions from the view of emptiness, wherein we try to understand the fact that things do not exist or like situations do not come to be out of their own. It comes from like accumulation of a lot of causes and conditions and a lot of factors coming together. So then it makes sense that if we actively contribute causes and conditions that are informed by compassion and love and so forth, then the karma that ripens or the karma that manifests manifests itself in a more compassionate appearance in our next life. So this is effectively explained in the text, kind of repeatedly actually, that appearances of phenomena, appearances of environment, appearances of situations differ from person to person, and this is because of our karma. And for example, some people are born into a wealthy family, some people are born into like really like secluded places, dangerous places, and this is all the effect of karma, because in previous life you engage in acts or you have like intentions that contributed for these causes and conditions to come to be.
어쨌든 싫어지야. 한번 가지 단들이 돼서 한번 가르치 셔비 내기 되고 다다 싫은 그래서 뭐 아무 탐보 이제 가르치고 있는데 지가는 내 바지가 엄마 사이로 가르치는데 겨우 한번 일이랬어. 한번 가지 다들 일이랬어. 심한 거를 다 됐으면 돼. 심한 거를 이면 다들 있으면 돼. 다들 생각하고 좀 맞지 제가 좀 가르치고 지지 아무 마찬가지 제도 뭐지 사실 누제 제가 들리는 거라. 그래서 야부지 지어야 되려고 야부지 아니.
So then in Tibetan we have like a saying and also a folk song which kind of captures this idea succinctly, and it goes along the lines of like whatever you did in your past life, if you want to know what you did in your past life, look at your present body right now, whether you have like all your sense faculties intact, whether you're physically appealing or not, whether you are physically like capable or not. Look at your physical body right now, and if you want to know what will like happen to you in your future, in your next life, by future in your next life, then look at your mind right now.
다당서 엔데 따르는 좀 삼아 이게 아무것도 야부지 지에서 삼아다마다.
So judging by the group that we have here today and looking at you from the outside, I think all of you had accrued good karma in your previous lives because all of your sense faculties are intact.
다 같이 통보다 먼저 실로라도 같이 날 미민도 같이 날 나빠다 가면 더 안돼도 대대는 이제 당아서 제는 제 도움도 나가지 제로 버전은 가르고 실로 대는 것도 쉬고 매를 다 이제 삼래 근데 오늘 가르고든도 같이 디 랑가들은 너무 많이 얘기 들어 이마 가서 테라는 미점이야 들어만데 딱 거기서 제가 레이칸으로 쌓이는 그래도 아주 들들은 좀 비하고.
So really we need to appreciate the fact that our sense faculties are intact and that physically we are not at a disadvantage at all. And we should hold this as something we need to cherish too. Because when we go to the streets, we see so many people suffering from physical disadvantage, some people without limbs, some people with like some faults in their sense faculties, so on. So when we look at them, all we can do in that instance is develop a sense of compassion. We cannot like help them anymore. And this is because this is karma, their karma that in their previous life they have accrued the causes and conditions for them to take birth in this form in this life. So then, looking at ourselves, we have to have an appreciation for the fact that now we have all the sense faculties intact. Physically, we are not at a disadvantage, so we need to make the most of our time and our ability.
근데도 통한데 가서 이제 단거는 마음부 관계와야 보시냐면 쇼서 너한테도 좀 시제다. 그러니까 소소이네 가서 이네 마시고 있다가 참고해 쉬고 나중에만 나도 될 까만 나도 우 단도 우지다. 또 소소이 일단 비슷한 내가 도저히 시는 나도 파기를 내는 까만 거야 그거 말아. 우도 마시다야 말은 기아시만 더서 기아시만 더서 우도 저 가네 하고. 그러니까 내가 단단히 가서 저저저 쉬기는 보다 보다 시선 이시다시 나로 냐매제가 다 이런 지금가에서 고도도 시선. 그래서 전에 아무 제에 계십니다. 그러니까 나중에 또 시간이 되더라.
So then when we see people with physical disadvantage and who suffer like defects in their sense faculties, then we need to develop a sense of compassion. And that's the best we can do at that point. And then when we look at ourselves, of course we need to have a sense of appreciation for the fact that our physical body is not at a disadvantage and that we have our senses intact. But then this is not meant to develop a sense of arrogance about ourselves. Because if you really think about it, you being in this situation and you being in that situation is really one breath away. If you fail to take the next breath in, then if we have not engaged in virtuous actions in our lives, it might be the case that we have accumulated the same causes to be born like that. So then it's very near, it's one instant away, one breath away. So this is why it's important to always look at the way we think, the way we act, the way we speak all the time. And this is why we make the point to look at the three doors, to always look at your three doors all the time.
그래서 단대기 가서 단다가서 이 시기 노블을 하고 라이다. 아니 수고 된 초도 주행이 저 삼바 상식생을 수고 제기라. 단다 수도더라. 그래서 근데 단다 간도를 세로 지금 노블라를 이로 수도 가르치는 시에도. 그라. 저시만은 이제 와제는 뭐 관리 하고 단다 내가 저는 저시만야 보는 거라. 그래서 근데 이거는 단다는 좀 가르치고 있는 단다라는 거 중에 한식이 수님 받치기는 빠야 돼. 아버지는 주야는 미신바지기 아버지는 지세라지. 디아야 계산 전부지라. 수수마제네 미신바지는 지세라지는 겨더우더우였어요.
So then really now is the time, now like this very instant is the time we need to start cultivating these positive qualities of the mind and trying to be mindful and abandoning the negative qualities of the mind. Because when we talk about the precious, holding others more precious than a wish-fulfilling gem, if we do not have these senses intact and we're not at a physical disadvantage, then it is impossible to achieve that supreme aim of helping others or developing an altruistic intention at all. So then we really need to cherish this human birth with all the freedoms and all the faculties intact as something, as a very precious opportunity, and should not waste it at all. And then to always check the three doors, and then to feel like now you really do have a jewel in your hand at this moment, and you should not make waste of it, make a waste of it. And so then to not to engage in non-virtuous acts, to try to engage in virtuous acts all the time, and then to also have an appreciation and aspiration when you see other people engaging in virtuous act, to support and appreciate these acts too. It's very important, because in the text and in the sutras it is explained that the virtue that we gain from aspiring to do virtuous things that other people are doing is almost equal to actually doing the things, because you develop such a strong intention and motivation.
실로도 다가스갈 들이라니 미 아무만 차리로 홍대니로 통서.
So then, as you have traveled far and wide, and I would like to know if you have met such people who are at a physical disadvantage and who do not have their senses intact.
네.
you seen such people?
지도가 진짜 누구도 제일
So in those instances, do you like try to help them by giving them some money, or do you do such things? Sometimes, some chigis.
우리 제대 카이라에 구들한지 엄마 선지다. 그래서 우리 딱 내가 제일 지금 같이 한테 표시를 하시는 정말 참 혼인도 싶다 싶을 거야. 네, 당연히 제마도 이제는 제대로 기지. 그때도 이제 콜 간이 딱 아주 스스로 상담 백걸을 엄마 사이까지 아니 이마 만자다 켜와제나래 아니 이마 치나래 텔라이나래 다가라 되리라. 그런 아도지들도 이 가시 모싱이도 달로르네 다가라도 다시로는 로지만은 다 kunju nganjoro ni nimachi de tu samra sholo de desa saya tu tadara wo mare tapol shala naga gal de wora ni mi ya do ma thera khadu nganjo nimachi khare no ma go sholo no nam chamba na na de do khadu khadu kale ya de gi kona de to la gangi de yo diga nganjo gi ya 통중 도 치수 많이 기라 배시 지대어 있는 지금 주로 많이 채워야 만 그냥 이제 되게 그거를 고셔야 되는 그런 이제 이 대단하죠. 그래서 배 계신 분들 그 당분은 셈을 동의를 강해요. 네가 가서 지 와이로 시지 유샤지로 되시는 그거도 시는 그 셈포로.
So then, if you have done so, then it is important to continue to do so. I think this is important because they really are at a disadvantage. So they have a lot of trouble. For example, every year when I go to pilgrimage to Bodh Gaya, I keep seeing the same people, and I get to know them a little bit because I keep seeing them year after year, and they really cannot look for jobs as we do, and then they cannot apply themselves as we can. So then it's important to try to do what little you can for these people, if it's like in the form of giving money or so on. And then when you do give them money, or when you do offer them support, then don't add to their troubles, because whether it rains, whether the sun is scorching or not, they always have to whether willingly or not, they have to ask for alms or ask for help in the street. So imagine, try to put yourself in their shoes, and you can feel their pain then, that willingly or not, in the sun, in the rain, they have to ask for help. So don't add to their troubles when you actually do help them, and do it in a kind manner. Don't humiliate them further. Don't give support or money disrespectfully, because already they have so much suffering, and then if you do that, then that hurts them. That hurts them even more. So do what you can with respect, with kindness.
And in a world where there is so much need, how do you choose how to give? Because you can donate, give money to individuals, you can donate to charities. When you see 100 homeless people, how would Buddhism recommend that one go about giving what is possible in the best way?
초벌을 따면야 기나게 내가 초벌 따는데 저는 몸 찍는 것도 보면은 저 몸 찍는 미자에서 초벌이 따면 자담을 배워요 거더라. 근데 이제 제가 지어래. 그러니까 초벌이 배시지 몸 찍고 와는 몸 잡고 예봐요. 나셔도 좀 되지 제가 근데 지어라. 단 기다리는 것은 영시는 슬간이도 슬고 붙여야 돼. 들어다가 야가 이렇게 된다. 슬간이 셔서 들을 때 두대하고 있기라. 초바이나 얘기를 했어. 땅 빼는 하나로 들어가 쉬어야 되는데 남들이 때에다 도전에다 주는 돈이 뭐보다. 그러니까 같이 아무 정말 차대기도 같이 마찬가지로 같이 미미죠 가면. 내가 공주도 줄어줄 젠도요. 근데 뭐냐 오늘 오늘 슬랩 핸드 딱 컬러 펜더 토기 주도 간다 내가 제 지금부터 있는 게 그래가 됐지 되게요 뭔가 되는 거 진짜 돈 가시 하나 주제된다 정말 대셔당도 댓글가 딱 되네 냥하고 되네 찍되는 걸 찍지 아니야 됐다 너도 예린데 저거 말하더라 제통이도 싫어 뭐 그거 문다 거라 그런 제통도 지금부터 있는 게 루틴이야 나라에 지나는 거지 근데 배신 나왔다 이게 시기다
So in the text, it is clearly explained that when you donate like 1 rupee to a collective fund or a collective organization, then it has the merit of actually giving to 100 people if the fund or the organization benefits 100 people. And likewise, if you steal 1 rupee from a collective fund or a collective organization, then you accrue the demerit of stealing from 100 or like the 100 beneficiaries of that particular organization. So this is clearly explained in the text. And now from a personal point of view and from personal experience, we should really look at like who really needs it more and who really needs the help. So when I go to like Bodh Gaya every year, then I see a lot of these people asking for help or asking for money. Then I don't really have a lot to give money-wise. So, but what little I have, I try to get like 10 rupees notes changed beforehand, and then I try to like give it to those people who really need it, especially those who are physically challenged, because they cannot look for jobs and they cannot really take part in society as we do. So I really try to like give it to them what little I have, rather than giving to someone who is like physically all capable and they could actually look for a job and apply themselves. But this is the way I try to like approach generosity or my giving practice.
아니 나는 식사물은 네버로요. 네버를 이제 닦고 내가 지프에 자신 비주 가신 대로 차려다 네버차. 내가 야다지 네버로 차는 거 내가 지금 모두 수습도 수습도 근데 가는 거 몰래요. 그대로 같이 토나요. 오늘 뭐 이래 줄 거가 아니라.
So then not only those people who are born with this physical disadvantages, then some people who are physically capable before and they are like they work and they go to a job and so forth. Suddenly they like fall ill, and then they become incapable of looking for a job or like earning their daily income or earning an income at all. So it's important to keep like these people in our mind too when we are trying to help people, and then we should broaden our like motivations and broaden our ways of giving to these people too, because they really are at a disadvantage once they become ill.
딜라 저도 소소송다라 먼저 딜라 텔라 디 마데 라도마 그런데 소소 유지 기바다인 다인 저것을 좀도라.
So the main thing is you should decide for yourself who you want to like give it to, who you want to practice generosity with. You should not follow like what I said. You really need to decide it for yourself. Yes, maybe we pick here. Then
Yeah.
you.
I had a question relating to the commentary on the fifth verse. In relation to something we were talking about earlier, if you were doing a Salisbury say, and if I'm not sure I did, but if I understood correctly what Vishen was saying, that a more advanced practitioner might not get that. Not sure that was exactly right. That's what I understood. And then in commentary, it says that one of the bodhisattva vows is to, in a situation where someone's doing something very harmful, not to refrain from using forceful methods to stop a person's actions if all peaceful methods fail. And then it also talks about acting out of motivation to save others from creating negative karma. So I'm wondering if there might be a situation situation which, as a practitioner, might, not fight back to hurt a person, but use defensive mechanisms as minimally as they need to in order to stop that harmful action, even if it's towards themselves, but not from self-cherishing, but from trying to stop the other person getting into harm, maybe. And also, later on it says it's possible that by doing something harmful to somebody now, you might create positive force that will enable you to do vastly beneficial things for others later. I was just wondering if you had an example for that.
디 티와도지라 아니 소 베로지 샤스 소로지다데 나만조 마와딜라니 조카라나 네버쇼니 제가 시는 표시오래지라 단 양면세도 데버로지나 아니 기즈미신이 travel서 버리wan지 소소다다 통중 대마세니 동갈레나야 아니 텔라니 전에 지금 알아봤어 이나야 아니 이 자이체도야 이 그거 좀 selek타네요 파르치치에다 요구도 왔어 아니 다 단어만이 비기 단어만 좀 제거지가 인지기 제거되는 아니 가르치도 변했으라 아니 탑 개발이 진행했으라 아니 미치기다 소소라라 지고는 지기 났으라 미치기 소소라라 지고는 지 신은 내지기 났으라 콜라야 레마하로지 레 니바치 사르라 콜소는 거 라니는 내가 지어서지 어디 콜링이 엄마사에 치도스라 니 만족이다 베로지 났으라 콜링인데 동네치다 내다주라 레베지 수면이 났어
디디도다 게다 그런 게 그런 미션 빠지 차도 오시는 다들 배셔나라 차도 지유나 딱그 차도 지되는 처음에 개만이네 그 차도 지니들 디바사와라 그런 거 가지고 본토 찾으시라 중간대랑 내도 자신이 그런 게 이거는 다 콜라도 해야겠지만 그런 게 차도 지면 지난 디바사요다 야 보여만 얘기지는 난 저도 패도 쓰라 봐 이제 지신의 그런 게 좀 지신이야 데레는 나네 도도인가 이네 그런 내단 있다네 디게시도 조사래 말다네 내 시에게 좀 있어 지나가서 제가라는 지금 중간라는 내마다 제가 실들을 중 참은 아주 키 계셔드립니다. 아주 들이 지어에는 수수기 가로 단다 디치다마 치마지 신두라 딜 할라나 수선면서 좋아다 양초 지그베 그 세딜을 그도 소다 라니라 제가 메바타 마세레와 메바 소이 되면서 먼저 중래라 디가 지기요 다 수수 개고지 만져야다 수수 파에 렌고 마도 이게 된다 말이야 디 라니 나제만 좀 해기지 라니라 해도 와 어디 된다 해도 중키를 디가 미 분야의 상처를 가르쳐 어디 그런 단단해 지버린다 이 수수기에 즈베기 달아 즈바고에 디 책도 디지체 안들다 라니라 예비 체시스 장부 강예바 남스 차창을 배주치도 수수기 팔다가 즈바공토에다 로니 가지도 못자테 디아편도
So then when we look at this verse then one point that we need to keep in mind is when we say may I take the defeat upon myself and may I offer victory to others, it is not meant, it shouldn't be taken to mean that you are taking the defeat upon yourself in the sense that I cannot do anything about the situation. I'm helpless, I'm incapable of responding in a positive manner in this situation. Or like, or that there is no hope in this situation. This is not the kind of attitude one adopts. This is not what the text advises. Well, what we mean by what we mean by taking defeat upon ourselves is not in this sense. It is mainly aimed towards combating arrogance from ever developing on the part of our practice within us. And then, in place of arrogance, we always have the sense of have the practice of tolerance in our interactions with others. This is what it means. And then tolerance does not equate inaction. Tolerance means like making the best use of all the qualities and capabilities that you have to respond to a particular situation wisely and justly. So this is what it means by taking the defeat upon oneself. And now when we say if we could have an example, then you can try to think about yourself. If you have someone who is really jealous of you, and then who always like kind of personally attacks you with like words and so on, and then you need to try to know that person first, to gauge the situation first, and then it could be the case that this person could be open to reason, could be open to have a dialogue, or this person, it could be the case that this person would never listen to a word that you have to say. So you have to kind of know the person first, and then in the first case, then it's very good that the advice kind of trickles down and to him or her. And then if, in the second case, if you know this person is not going to respond positively to your like to the way that you like openly extend yourself to this person, then you learn a lesson that okay, I should not from here on in the future I should not try to engage in this manner. So really, like you should like learn from your experience and try to have an understanding of the other people's situation first. Makes sense?
그냥 지지 아니 대시 집 가려는 저 차도 지고 있는 막아와 체인 지어라 그렇지 와 가르치는 통주지는 그렇게 zamdadi di tapar chil de mane kol tupa jam ba chera ye gi thase tanga ya bodo thalen sin tapar thongo mare di corona ya di basai mare chera na sim bana ba ni su zamda ya kol kisi kol jo ta ma to thalen ste de ki cham chiki ya na ba chi ta tan
So then one effective and practical way to kind of approach such a situation is to kind of put a distance between yourself and that person if it continues to be the same after a while, because then it helps both you and the other person.
mi khaji to so so chang chang mo ya yam da de to ti kan kala kharo zamni gal mi indi ma mo ra sil nyam da de to to ma be khaji ti ma chang ne mi ti ma da mi ba ti yam da ya to pa je kha de je tik chen to da chum this is start as a ji wi cham chang to na kha da
So yes, this is evident in the fact that there are some people who do not get along at all, but then both of them kind of insist to be together all the time. And when they're together, none of them have a good time. They argue, they fight with each other, and there are like billion human beings. Like then you can try to make friends with other people too. It's not the end of the world when you like break that relationship with that person when it serves no purpose at all.
그 다기 티 가서 그 중간을 내고 쉬어라 했어. 지금 그 담당에 기초는 다가 랩탑 보고도 통도 없는 어찌 간지로 쉬어르신 다샤샤샤를 내도. 맞도 왜 이렇게 참았다. 그 투어로 보더라고 보면 뭐래. 파이들 지 그것도 지 딱딱 속으로 수투. 네 다샤샤를 되가라. 투에 투고 오는데 다 아타케 만디 좋은 릴레이션을 이루어 통다. 그분이 이 얌내도 레트인다. 자, 콜레야네 마지 체는 고치 투고 제 제 초과에 오라 가는 파이리 있는 노트 제사라. 네, 다샤샤를 내는 게 마보 거유라. 티 카유라 이 빼도 지레티. 근데 통다. 라. 아무튼 내다. 이게 지금 미 여러신 다샤샤를 사셔요. 아.
저 주보시는 분들이 먹어요.
내려요. 맞아. 그때가 제 방가랑 렌즈로 있다. 그 갈라는데 키도셔요. 얘도 뭐네 걸 켜서라요. 코바도 지가 그냥 진진이야. 말로 소리를 좀. 그 샤샤 카투에 카투 걸 파주로 그 야네로 마투로 채워는데 pude corona
So then this is evident, and if we really like look at situations, when I see like a fight breaking out in a school environment, and then there is someone who really like threw the first punch or anything, then a fight is about to break out, and this person is, if he like fights back, it's justified that he punches back or so on. And but I have seen it with my own eyes in school environments, wherein like a friend or someone or the person himself was like, okay, just leave it at that now. Don't add to the situation. Leave it. So I think this is also like a perfect example of taking defeat upon ourselves in that situation, because he is justified to hit back, and he also has like the support of his friends to beat him, like to beat the other person. But in many situations, like we see Gishima has seen it with her own eyes, and I was actively a part of fights like this, wherein my friends really like always say like, leave it now, leave it, don't leave it. And I'm sure you have such experiences too. And when I think about it now, it makes sense because for the long run, it was the wise decision.
잡디 종가라는 내가 쇼도 공부 배 치심 침부지 거기도 종 침부 배도 거라는데 하루다 강에 참아 돈에 제시에서 두두 참아 돈에 지고 뒤집어 말라 그래서 정을 최종이라 가리는다 저 지차고
So then when we think about the word defeat, then we think like something very like, big. Maybe it's not something like that. We can try to approach like small instances like this and build from there.
If I ask another follow on. I know it's a bit of an extreme example, assault and being assaulted. But in my previous job, before coming to India, it was my job to care for young people who could be very likely to assault me. But it was my job to care for them. And we were trained in restraint, so like in holding them in the least kind of aggressively possible for the least amount of time possible. In that kind of extreme situation, if that were to come about, to stop them from hurting themselves or from hurting us or from hurting other people. And to me, it was just always a bit. I think the training was actually really good. However, ethically, using, I guess, force on another person, I was just never totally comfortable with.
Quran tiwet dir, Quran nima lega chimi lega lesa jura. Dila mi lo shunshu dila ani tis chuba kanyi yujo. Mi lega changa ro dila kanyi yujo. Chuba zubu dila nyam dila lega chiburis. Konzola da kalabur. Lopso teya. Konzola ni churam juhita ya lopchom teya dili sara. Ni dila roba chiba chubi zamba thambo konzo simbo rata. Simbo di zamba ani konzo pe chuba zubu zamba. Sune lega chiya rota. Su shuya rota dili uras. This is why France will never during our Jonda to Karti to Midi La Pata, Lugu Jota, which is Vejura, was Simage. Now, Singular, police is Simjo, Simia de la Piedesra. And in this is about Midi Soso like no mache, Midi Shen and Nuche, the Cardinal, who de Lavatam, Lavanissim, Lavatam, Kabatam Genera. Nayana, Sujum, the Moch in Chinasra. And the Suda Tumbachi, Chajuji, and Peto Hoditus. And me, Pajuchi Madushin, my council, the Chilios. The Cadesti, Suda Tumba regular, Sujum the Gileading.
The Quran is every midi senior midi Kuyabuzo actually Yabachas. Did the Tamajra, Kuyabuzo, the Tamusin, the Kiran notoriety, Kirakuni Abuji, could you meet him home by Abachada, midi Dakalochi, Michitun the Tambaji, Abuji, Chichura.
So I think you should not have like a moral dilemma about using force in this instance because the intention is clear and the desired effect and the result that you can have for this person is a positive one. So I think you should not really think too much about the moral dilemma of using force, and it's not unnecessary force. It's to restrain this person from harming oneself and others, and to put him on the right path to say, as a way of saying. And in this instance, the method is the only method there is. So okay, let's open this question to the whole group. Let's see what we think.
I worked in a similar job before coming to India with adults with learning difficulties, and there was one individual who I had a good relationship without that needing to have them, but with other members of staff, this individual actually, from his capacity, felt safer after someone had kind of used restraint because they felt they could then physically, they were safe with that staff member due to their kind of trauma in the past, they then felt safe essentially from being restrained. So yeah, so I imagine you know what. So I think it like I guess that's like what the text says, that it's a physical force, but it's actually benefiting in the long run, I guess. So
Yeah, I had a similar story from my sister who worked with children also. She just told me how she restrained one of her students to prevent her from like throwing things at her classmates and being violent, while saying, you know, I'm not punishing you, I'm not trying to do you harm, I just don't want you to harm anyone else. And I felt that was like the most beautiful thing we can do, and like preventing someone from hurting oneself from one's bad actions and hurting others. And just such a nice example of what we can do with our inner child also, what we try to do. Like preventing reactions all the time that can harm others. Although we have all these mind state, we hold ourselves to sort of prevent us from harming us. That was beautiful.
그 선지 거라는 거. 다 얘기서 얘네 저한테 미친 놈으로 나도 진짜 다 뭐라야 아니지. 다음서 가시기 통주체라고는 가시기 진여주로 오신 다 저한테 다 샤샤시라야 내 주무사라.
So then I want to ask you a question. Up until now, in your like life experience, did you have a situation wherein like you have suffered like harsh words or assault from someone, and then you had the reaction that leave it?
제발 그래서 반년로 로트에 예배이네. 마tun도 그만도 거라. 마tun도 들어주라. 그래서 지로엔 로트에 예배질에 지라이 말로 샤샤지도 돼요.
So then, were the instances? There's a big difference here now. Were the instances wherein like you could have like justifiably and you were capable of attacking the person back, verbally or physically, but you like let it go, or you left, or you said leave it now, I'm not going to engage. Were there such instances in your life?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes. 뭐 제가 다티 어디 나도 다다 거기 디가는 식대지 그런 추첨을 처리다. 대다가나 중간에 내버려지라. 배천 데를 오죠.
So then, if you are looking for an example of taking defeat upon yourself without thinking too much on the word defeat, then this is an example that you already lived in your lives.
그냥 염려 제대로 왔다. 다들 염려 제대로 딱 간대로 있는 시부지야. 지금 감도로 채우는다.
So whether you call it a practice or not, knowingly or not, you have done effectively cultivated this practice in that moment. And don't like put too much stress on the word like practice, cultivation, because it's life in the end.
지나가서 취지에 생을 흘려보면 시대에 치더라. 야 취업이 치리야 생을 쇼지네야. 현사자이라. 이제 내내 많이 치르지.
Certainly when we talk about words like the Dharma, practice, cultivation, when we begin to develop a sense of stress, that this is something I need to do, this is something really virtuous and all that, and then we become stressful and then forget that we live like ordinary human lives.
야. 다시 오라.
So we leave it at that.
주선 주신다.
So we end this session with a dedication prayer. It's on page 45. Those of us with the blue color. And those of us with the Prasamling prayer book, it's on page 31. The title is Dedications. So we recite the dedication prayer itself. Maybe we do, you repeat after Geshe-la.
Sancho Rinpoche.
Sancho
마제 빠남 찌찌르지
Maje Panam Chichuchi,
제바 냠바 메바양
Chepa Nyamba Mepaya,
고네 공드 배워르쇼
Gomle Gomdu Dewasho,
창주 센조 렘보체
Chaju Sencho Rinpoche,
마제 빠남 찌찌르지
Maje Panam Chichuchi,
제바 냠바 메바양
Chepa Nyamba Mepaya,
고네 공드 배워르쇼
Gomle Gomdu Dewasho,
창주 센조 렘보체
Chaju Sencho Rinpoche,
마제 빠남 찌찌르지
Maje Panam Chichuchi,
제바 냠바 메바양
Chepa Nyamba Mepaya,
고네 공드 배워르쇼
Gomle Gomdu Dewasho.
이집트로도 지랑이 되면요.
So the prayer is already translated into English, so I think it's helpful if you are able to recite it in English too.
아싸니 산이제요.
Okay, then see you all tomorrow.